Hey guys, so just a quick video on relays. What is a relay? Why do we care? And how can we use this information in the field? So what is a relay? It's like a switch. A switch either opens and doesn't let voltage through or closes and lets voltage through. If you're not used to thinking of it like that, it can be kind of confusing at first, because a lot of times when we think of something being closed, we think of the path being broken. But in electrical, if something's closed, that actually means like if contacts are closed, that means that there's power going across. I think of it like a bridge. If we open that bridge, no one can get across. Like if it's a drawbridge and you were to open it up and lift it, nothing can get across. But then you were to drop that drawbridge back down, and now it's closed, and voltage can get across. So same thing with a relay. It either opens, doesn't let voltage through, or it closes and lets voltage through. And you're going to have an input and an output, and then you're going to have your control voltage. So your control voltage would be where it shows on this picture your low current circuit. That's where you're going to get like your 24 volts, 12 volts, whatever it's supposed to be. That's what you're going to get your voltage from the board. That's another difference between a relay and a switch. A switch, you're manually opening and closing it. But with a relay, the board, usually there's logic involved. So you're just going to have a control board, and that's what's going to provide you with your control voltage. When you get the proper control voltage, like say 24 volts, applied to your low current circuit or the coil, that's going to let your input voltage pass through and go feed to whatever it's supposed to be feeding. So if you look on the left-hand side, that would be a relay where it's not getting its control voltage. So the path's open, it's not letting your input go to its output. If you look on the right side, that would be where you are getting your control voltage. You're getting 24 volts on the coil. So you're getting your input at the bottom of the picture. And then since the contacts are closed, it's going across those contacts and it's going to feed whatever it's supposed to be feeding. So that's energized versus at rest. Couple things to keep in mind is there is normally open relays. So that just means that that's usually what we're dealing with kitchen equipment. It just means that it's normally open. It's normally not letting power go through until it receives voltage, control voltage, and then it'll let power go through and it'll close. A normally closed relay would be the opposite. It's normally always letting the path, the path's always clear. It's always letting voltage go through until it meets certain requirements. It'll open back up. Say like a time delay, relay for HVAC. It's gonna be closed normally, letting voltage through, but after a certain time is met, it's going to open those contacts and stop letting voltage go through. So that would be the difference between a normally open and a normally closed. Usually you'll be able to see either on the wiring diagram, or you'll see on the actual relay itself, it'll have like little schematics, and different symbols will mean different things. But we'll go more into that on a different video on how to read schematics and wiring diagrams. Let's see. So first we'll go over poles and throws. So there's single poles relays, there's double pole, there's single throw, double throw. Basically, a pole just refers to the number of separate circuits that it has and the number of input voltage. Like, so if you have one hot leg or two hot legs going to it for your input, and then the throw just indicates how many different paths that it can send that power to. So we'll go over a single pole, single throw relay first. So as you see on the left-hand side, that's where your control voltage would be. That's what energizes the coil to close the contacts. And then terminal A, that would be your input voltage. So say you have 120 going to terminal A. And then you see the pole, it's open, so it's not letting any voltage across. Once that coil gets energized from your low voltage or your control voltage, it's going to close that pole, and it's going to let 120 go from terminal A to terminal B. So that's single pole. You can see the pole, and single throw. It's only got one path that it diverts the energy to. Next is a single pole double throw relay. So this one, it's still got only one source of power, one circuit, but it's got different paths that it could take. See how if you look at 30 and you follow it up, see it's got that, only has that one pole, but see how there's two separate circuits, or not circuits, but two paths that it can take, either 87 or 87A. So that's single pole, but double throw. Here is a double pole, double throw. So again, you have your A and B, that's your control voltage going across the coil. And then T1, T2. Right here they have 12 volts, but let's just say it could be 120 too. So it could be 120 to T1 and 120 to T2. And so you could get 240 to whatever it's sending power to. So in this case, we have 12 volts, and it's going to 1 and 3. And it's got, see the two poles, see there's one between 1 and T1 and one between 3 and 2. So that's your two poles. But then it's also got two directions it can throw that power. So it can either feed it to 1 and 3, and that's going to make, in this way they're using it to change the direction of a motor. So this one's when it sends power to 1 and 3, motor's going to turn counterclockwise. But if you look over here, when it throws power to the other paths, it's going to change the direction of that motor, and it's going to make it turn clockwise. So that's an example of double pole, double throw. It's also used for a lot of stuff we work on, like kitchen equipment, HVAC stuff, water heaters, stuff like that. So this one's going to be a double pole, single throw. So you see your two poles. So there's one between T1 and 1. There's one between T2 and 2. But it's only, as you can see, there's only one path for it to divert power to. So this is in this case, it'd be a single source of 240 volts or 220. And it's either going to be open where it's not sending power, or it's going to close like how it is on the right-hand side. It's going to close and send power. So 240 volts. So you have two hots, one path that it can take, but two poles. So that's double pole, single throw. And then here's just a summary. So single pole, single throw, it's the simplest version. One path, one pole. Single pole, double throw, it's two paths, but still only one pole. Double pole, single throw, it's got two poles and only one path it can take. Double pole, double throw, has two poles, and it's got two paths that it can send that power to. So that's just a basic understanding of poles and throws, what a relay is. And sometimes I forget this stuff, and I have to really like look at the wiring diagram and look at the relay and figure out what it's supposed to do. But it just gets easier the more you look at them. Basically, though, what it comes down to in the field and how we use this is, am I getting the proper inputs? And if I am, is it giving the proper outputs? So am I getting my 24 volts from my control voltage from the board? And if I am, then I should be getting the proper outputs. If I'm not getting the proper outputs, then the relay's bad. So for example, if we look at SPST up in the left-hand corner, let's say I'm supposed to be getting 24 volts on that coil, on the coil, on my control voltage side. So I test with my meter and I check, and let's say I do have 24 volts. Okay, then that means that relay should be energized and that pole should be closed. And that means I should be getting, so let's say my input at terminal A is 120. I should be getting 120 coming out of terminal B up above. And if I'm not, then I know that relay's bad. So hopefully that helps somebody understand relays. Thanks, guys.